It is my absolute pleasure to be joined today by author Scott Christopher. He's the author of the newly released book, Writing the Blue Line. And so, Scott, tell us about this book.
Well, this book has been something I've been working on now for about 2 years. It didn't start out that way. It wasn't meant to be a book. It was basically just there for memories. And I wasn't quite sure, what I was going to end up doing with it. And then one day I let my wife read it and she said, you know what, maybe you should see about publishing it. The book itself is mainly about writing and what writing gives to the individual. And, I've been a motorcycle rider for over 20 years. I ended up having several good friends that were motorcycle riders. And to me, the book encompasses more about motorcycle touring. I'm not talking about just riding around your neighborhood or going down to the corner watering hole. I'm talking about getting on a bike and going out and seeing this wonderful country that we have. I've ridden just about every highway in the Western United States, and that's what most of the stories in this book encompass. But as I started writing, and I started putting some of the stories down and some of the memories I had, it wasn't the entire story. Part of it was also what writing meant to me as a stress reliever. I'm a retired law enforcement officer and worked as a police officer and detective for almost 30 years. And the bike itself was my getaway. It was a way to relieve that stress and dealing with the everyday people that can be some of the worst that we deal with in society. It was also a story of healing because one of the best friends I had in this world, who was also a fellow writer, he passed away 6 years ago, and his death was something that for a while I had a hard time dealing with because he was such a good friend and a fellow writer. So writing it was kind of cathartic to me to try to put this down on paper and put these stories together. And now I have the opportunity to put it out there and have others read it, and hopefully they will enjoy it as well.
That's incredible. And it sounds like there's so much in this book. Just it covers so many different things, has so many different messages. And you've already talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to ask it a little bit differently is what was that main point of inspiration for you where you said, okay, I have to write this and get this published? Like what was that true point, that turning point inspiration that made you do that?
Well, I think there's two answers and two parts to that question. Again, to go back originally, as we all get older, the main point of writing this down was never to write a book. It was to remember that because, when you go out with friends and family, and I talk about some of the rides I go on and some of the mishaps and some of the fun things and some of the situations I found myself into, it was more to try to write it down. It wasn't even a diary or a journal. It was just to write these stories down. And then as I got further into it, and one day I just looked down and all of a sudden I had written like 60,000 words. And so I, at that point told my wife about it. She read it and she says, you know what, finish it off. And I thought, okay, let's see if this is something that I can do. And, I just kind of polished some things up and added some more stuff in and then some more stories related to law enforcement in there. And it all kind of came together. And I think that was kind of the reasoning behind it at that point was that, hey, this is something interesting. I'm going to give it a try and see if I can do this.
That's incredible. And wives are good like that. They're good at being like, hey, this is what you should do. And being right about
Yeah,
it. I have
yeah, in
to
a
say,
lot of different ways,
yes.
that's for
And
sure.
yes, I love that. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us today about you, the book, or the message within the book?
Well, I would say that, as everything else, I hope this book is something that someone can read and enjoy. I didn't write this book for recognition. I didn't write it to become famous. I know it's, not going to, may or may not, but I'm not in it to win awards or to make money. I wrote it because I thought it was an entertaining story. And what I hope that people get out of it is take the time to read about it. And it may stimulate them to either one, try to go out and ride, or two, if they're already riders, to go out on some of these roads in the United States and see what's out there. It's totally different. If anyone who's ever taken a trip and gone and flew someplace and taken a tour, or they've been in a car and they've gone through a national park or on one of these roads, when you go out on a motorcycle, it's totally different. And I'm hoping that it will stimulate someone or encourage someone to go out and try to do these things. And I hope they also kind of laugh at some of the things that have happened to me in the book, because these are things that happen to writers on a day-to-day basis. I just wanted to put down a story that I hope that someone enjoys. That was my main goal.
I love this. And so let's make sure we tell everyone where they can purchase this book. It's available everywhere online books are sold: Amazon, Apple Books, Reader House, online at Barnes and Noble, all the places. It's easy to find. This book by Scott Christopher, Writing the Blue Line, fun book to pick up. We'll encourage you to get out there and do fun things as well. So we recommend everyone pick up this book today.
Yeah.
And Scott, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me.
Thank you very much for taking that time.